We certainly know how to become flowers through the mud around here, don't we? We Southsiders, we of Beverly, Morgan Park, Mount Greenwood, and the St. Rita community. A big pile of mud was dropped on us recently when the neighborhood lost Captain Herbie Johnson, a man who died a hero, doing not just something he loved, but something for the greater good as well. In typical neighborhood fashion, though, flowers sprang up instantly from that mud, and the outpouring of love and care and family and friendship and tears and laughter and stories and hugs for the Johnson family, the Chicago Fire Department, and just each other as a collective was like nothing I had ever seen before, but certainly not something I wouldn't expect. As I stood in line for 3 hours at Herbie's wake at his alma mater, St. Rita, where I taught his son Mickey, I'd like to think my sports journalism class made him the fine young man he is today, but I guess Mickey's father probably had more to do with that. And where I once listened to one of the few speeches at a school mass by an alum that had students talking about it afterwards, a speech by a Corporal Thomas Johnson. And as I listened to all those who spoke at the funeral mass, the theme of love kept pounding in my ears, bullying them even, to take from Father Tom McCarthy's analogy that day. I also found interesting the timing of all this. Never in my life have I seen this country or even this neighborhood so polarized sociopolitically. There's a ton of vitriol being thrown around at politicians, at organized groups, at each other, and it's very troubling. While I took in the celebration of the life of Herbie, a celebration that immediately followed a presidential election and was not far removed from a labor strike that very much impacted this neighborhood, it dawned on me. This man died serving others without consideration of race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, political affiliation, or anything else superficial. Herbie didn't ask for any personal background check before running into a burning building. Amazing that a human being can abandon concern for any differences between him and others in order to save life and property. Yet how often do we fail to do so in everyday life? How ready are we to cast aspersions and throw stones at someone different? Tears rolled down my cheeks as I listened to a Jewish man and a Hispanic man exalt the virtues of an Irish Catholic. And for those few hours and the hours at the wake, it wasn't about us versus them or who is better than whom. It was about a man that brought thousands together in commonality. There was no race or politics. It was just us, celebrating something tragic but also good. And I really wish such a climate didn't only exist for those few hours. I wish it wasn't just in tragedy that we check our hate at the door. I wish we were not so quick to emphasize our differences instead of our shared humanity unless there's a casket in the room, or a natural disaster strikes, or a building collapses because of hate. Again, let me emphasize that Herbie, like most of his fellow first responders that we are so fortunate to have, helped and ultimately made the ultimate sacrifice indiscriminately. He didn't say that he'd fight fires for these people but not those. His Marine son doesn't defend some Americans but not others. Yet most of us are not asked to go into the flames or work amid bullets and bombs, and yet most of us discriminate. Most of us choose to divide rather than unite. Why? Why do we choose to be so often the mud rather than the flowers? Because racism, sexism, homophobia, hatred of others for their political views, willful ignorance, those make us mud. It's easy to make mud, to hate without logic, to grow a flower, to be rational, to understand and appreciate others, not so much. We're not perfect by any means. Herbie certainly wasn't. But it is imperfect people that make perfect heroes. Herbie was a perfect hero. And he reminded us that we don't have much time here. And in that little time we're around, we make a choice to be mud or a flower, to hate or to love. Herbie chose to be a flower. He was a flower in our neighborhood. He was a flower running into a flaming building. And he was a flower bringing us all together for a few days without any differences. And that flower will never turn to mud. I thank him for that. And I thank his family for letting him be such a flower to the rest of us. Now I hope the rest of us can climb out of the mud and be flowers too.